All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about what we call the drawing process. So the drawing process is sort of my way of organizing your thoughts on how to create a drawing from nothing. One of the hardest struggles for students in this class is trying to figure out what to draw once I give them a project, because you can draw kind of literally anything you want as long as you draw it within the bounds of the project that I've given you. So when we talk about drawing anything we want, we talk about what's called subject matter. So when we look at this right here, the what right here, where it says number 1, what, create a written log of your thoughts and choose your subject matter. So what we're doing here is we're actually literally sort of writing things down and sort of creating this idea of what do I want to draw and what can I draw? And then the how comes, which is the then how do I draw these things, right? Then now I'm like, okay, so now I know what I want to draw. What exactly is it that Mr. Fleming wants from me, and how am I going to approach this? And then after that, then we have construction, which is the actual drawing of your thing. This is the actual creation of your project. So this kind of goes into a separate category. The what and the how happen at one time. They are sort of the brainstorming process. And then the second one, which is sketching, and then we do the drawing. And number 3 is drawing. And this is like literally that thing we talked about in class where we have sketching versus drawing. And when we're sketching, we're just kind of getting our ideas out and our thoughts out and trying to make something happen in our brain. And then it's time to draw. It's time to slow down, and it's time to really construct this thing and start actually working on your project. And then at the end of every single project, we will always have, just like we do in class, some sort of critique and reflection and some questions that I ask you about the project to kind of put this all together and kind of reflect on what has happened in the project. And that's it as an overview. So that is the entire drawing process as it sits. We're going to talk about step 1. So step 1 in the drawing process is the what. It is this guy right here, right? We're talking about sort of choosing a subject matter. A subject matter, which you should have learned from intro to visual arts, is anything that we put into our work of art. I like to tell students that it is your noun. It is literally the person, the place, or the thing that you decide that you're going to draw. So that is what step 1 is, and what your goal is for class, is to figure out your subject matter. So how do we do this? So we do this by doing what we call brainstorming. This is when artists go through their creative process to problem solve and sort of choose their subject matter and their composition. That's another important word. Composition is a fancy way of saying what's going to happen across the entire page. Not just what am I going to draw. That's step 1. Step 2 is how am I going to draw that thing? And for every project, that will be a little bit different. So for every project, you'll pick a subject matter. And then for every project, you also have a specific composition that I'm asking you to show me. And that's sort of like part of that brainstorming process. Every artist has their own way to brainstorm. So what we're going to talk about today is what are ways that you can brainstorm so that you can figure out your process of brainstorming. What you'll find through this class, and the point of this sort of drawing process, is that there is a way to know you want to create a drawing and then start to actually create that drawing, and sort of like how to get from nothing on the paper and even nothing in your head to something in your head and something on the paper. So what kind of evidence can we present? That's what's super important about this talk right here, because yes, you can sit there and you can stare at a wall and you can think of ideas, but our brain can only have one idea in our minds at a time. And so what we're going to actually do is write these things down as we think about them. And we're going to do that through a couple of different ways. What is a mind map? A mind map is a visual representation of your thoughts that includes a main idea and then connected branches associated to that main idea. And what I mean by that is, like, you could have multiple mind maps. You could have one mind map and then you could really find your idea. But this is sort of that thing. So how do you mind map? So imagine in the center of the mind map. So right here, I'm even going to like literally do this. So let's say that you want to draw shoes. Okay. So you place that in the center of your mind map. Then you have to think of things that are associated with shoes. So what else can I draw? Because if you Google image search shoes and look up a reference of this, you're going to get so many different things. We need to narrow this down. Maybe vans. So companies is one way, or brands is one way to do it, right? So you could even Nike. And then from here, you could break this down even further, right? Different kinds of Nike shoes, SBs, Dunks, everything in between, or whatever kind of shoe, or the Nike brand that you like, right? Like more like sneaker brand or more like running shoes, that kind of thing. Vans, high top, slip on, the AV eras or whatever, kind of like is your jam for those kinds of shoes, right? So when you split this thing up in this idea, we break it down to a specific subject matter. So if I go into Google image search and I look up literally Vans high tops, now we're talking about a subject matter that we can find and we can actually narrow that down. And that's literally what we're going to do with this. After you kind of gotten your idea, you are actually going to do that. You're going to go in and you're going to go Nike high tops. Now we've got an actual pair of shoes that we can grab and we can put an image into our slideshows and we can show. So that's the most important part about this process is you are actually going to get an actual final product. So you're going to create that mind map. You're actually going to show me that mind map. You're going to draw it out on a piece of paper and you're going to take a photo of it. And you're actually going to find your reference. You're going to save the reference to your computer. So let me show you how you do that. You're going to right click. Let's say this is what you want. You want to open it up bigger because you'll get a better photo doing it this way. You're going to right click, save image as, and then what I always recommend is that you just put it to your desktop because that's the easiest place that you can find it. So you're going to stick it on your desktop. And now I've got that photo. The reason that you're going to grab that photo is that then we can insert it in here. So just like I taught you guys where you can go insert an image, you can do upload from computer. So we can do upload from computer. We can just very quickly go to our desktop and we can find that picture of those shoes and it will slap it in here. And that is number one. So you will put your photo here of your reference and then you'll insert your photo here. So that's super important. Whatever you do to brainstorm, whatever you write down on that piece of paper, that goes next to it. And then your reference actually goes here. So now you have your idea, how I got my idea, and then what my idea itself is. And that is what we're doing for step one in today's class. So before I stop, there's a small conversation to have, and that is what else? So a mind map is just one way, right? Most of you will pick this way because it is the easiest way to kind of gather our thoughts together and decide what we're going to draw. A word storm is another way of doing this. This is where you literally just write down all the words that come to your brain. You don't even think, you just literally write down the first 5 or 10 words that come to your brain. And then you cross out ones that have nothing to do with drawing and you don't want to draw. And then you usually have a couple words left over and then you can break those down. And what a lot of students do to use this one is this is how they get started for what words they want to put into their mind map. So let's say you put about 5 or 10 words down, then you can stop yourself and be like, okay, I want to mind map these ones. What else counts? So this is kind of important here too. Anything, guys. Students would write stories, write poems, write down song lyrics, and then pull from the song lyric and say, I like this lyric and it reminds me of drawing this thing. So this is what I'm going to draw. We call this an artifact because this is any object made by a human. You are a human, you're going to make an artifact. That means you're going to have evidence on a piece of paper that you thought. This is super important because I'm going to say this one more time. I don't care that you sat in your room with your LED lights behind you and you thought about your idea. I need to see your thoughts and where you got to for that idea, because sometimes I can help you break that idea down more. Because remember, shoes is not a subject matter. Nike high tops, Vans, old schools. These are specific subject matters that we can Google, grab a reference, and put that into our slideshows. Okay, so there it is. One reference at least, and then whatever your mind map or brainstorm looks like. Those are the 2 photos. That's what we're working on today in class.